Here this week. To start with qualifying for the Porsche Sprint Challenge USA West by Yokohama here at Circuit of the Americas. It's a bit of a hazy morning, as you can see, as the cars are out on track and getting ready to try and put their fast times in. We'll see how they handle it at this fantastic facility. I'm Joe Peak here once again with Jeremy Scott. And Jeremy, I'm looking forward to what we get to see out of the drivers. Many of them have mentioned to us that they've been here before, so we're starting to see some familiarity from a lot of them.
And we are, Joe, because this is one of the crown jewels of American motorsport. F1's home for the past decade, so a lot of drivers want to do well so they can say that they've conquered Circuit of the Americas as we have West qualifying out on Circuit.
Indeed, and you can see a few of them heading around that now legendary first corner. The drivers obviously having difficulty trying to get the throttle down out of that tight left-hander. I'm kind of curious how important qualifying will look this weekend, Jeremy, because this place does have places to pass. We've got these tight hairpins with the long straights leading into them, but what exactly are we expecting here today in terms of track position?
Well, right now it's just a term of getting out there, getting up near the front, and making sure that you have a good qualifying position because anything can happen. From the word go here at this facility, I've always seen that this has been a tale of two tracks. From one all the way to the hairpin, it feels more like an autocross course. And then once you get to the other side of the circuit, well, that's where you go to the stadium and around the big observation deck. That's where I think a lot of people are going to be making up their time, especially on that long back straightaway.
Absolutely. So we wait for the first hot laps to come in here today, and as you can see them fly down the front stretch, that's going to be Blake McDonald in the bright yellow and black machine. He's been dominant all season long, has not lost in his class yet. About the only blemish is that he didn't take an overall win at the first round at Spring Mountain, so He'll be trying to make sure and keep that from happening here as well.
Yeah, drivers on their hot laps too. Laura Eli and James Lee, both of those drivers, really been trying to keep Blake McDonald honest, even though James Lee is in the 992, Laura Eli in the Masters. But we'll see what happens when these drivers come through for their first hot laps. We're seeing their sector time so far, so we're just about ready to get started. Richard Kinsey has not logged time in Cayman either, doing our paddock walk, what little paddock walks we have done here, because it is just a sauna here at Austin. Notice that the 28 crew was working on the car yesterday. It was a little bent up. Today, looks like they were doing some adjustments to a brake caliper.
Interesting. So hopefully we'll get to see him out on track competing this weekend, and nothing too bad going on. Is just a little bit wide there for Cron.
Look at that rub there on the left rear.
Interesting.
That's very interesting and not surprising either. Depends on what they're running with the pressures, especially with how much you're leaning there going through that corner. He's doing it again on the right-hand corner. So we'll have to keep an eye on it, see if that affects his tires here in qualifying.
Not something we've been seeing this weekend. That's a bit of an unusual one. Now, if you're wondering how to tell these classes apart, if you see them in the white side numbers on the car, that is going to be our Pro-Am class. The blue ones are going to be our Masters, and then we'll have yellow for our Cayman class out there today. 3 different classes racing in one at this for this series, and we'll have all different classes this weekend. As I mentioned, we've both got the USA West Series, the North America Series is competing, and the inaugural race for the Porsche Endurance Challenge here in North America.
And there are a lot of great pairings with that. We'll talk about that throughout the weekend, but look at the time that James Lee's already set down. It's a 2:09.7. Blake McDonald with a 2:10.0. Casey Dennis looking pretty good as well with an 11.2. And Josh Conley is fourth with an 11.6. Laura Eli rounding out your top 5, your fastest in Masters with an 11.9.
Lee definitely looking good here at the start. He's yet to see a win, obviously, but he's been looking quick, if not a bit mistake-prone at times. We've seen both spins from him as well as tussles with his teammate Casey Dennis. But last I spoke to him back at Utah, said that there was no hard feelings between them. In fact, they really enjoyed the fight that they had between themselves out on track. So keep an eye on those two. Laura Eli improving up to third overall. There's no difference, reminder, between the Masters and the Pro-Am cars. It is all just down to driver rating.
And take a look at this camera shot from turn 20, I should say. See the tower? That's how hazy it is. We're able to race. We're able to see corner to corner, but it's hazy. It's damp, and I think that's going to also affect some of the car's setup. I thought I saw a little bit of tire rub as well from what looks like...
That's Kron. I think that's the same car.
Yeah, Reinhold Kron's. So we might have that to contend with. Yeah, look at that. Look at that left rear, Joe. We're starting to see some... left rear tire rub on the right-handed corners.
Yeah, and that could be a problem. You don't want to see a blown tire here. We've already had that actually happen once already this weekend, where a car was totaled as it blew a tire on the front straight and just veered straight into the wall.
Yeah, they're okay, thankfully, but we've lost a competitor in GT3 North America.
Yeah, so Rob Walker, unfortunately, looking like he's done for that one, but thankfully he has another car for later on here today. Love the drone shots that we're going to be getting this weekend. This is, again, just a sprawling facility out here, so you can see how much they have put into it, and the fantastic track that is Circuit of the Americas. Still Blake McDonald, not faster than James Lee. So James seems to really like this track, because usually it's been Blake, the one that's hard to catch.
Yeah, let's take a look at the Cabins real quick, where you've got Michael Gawke with an 18.221.7 out of Greg Herback. So those two drivers, the only two who are qualifying right now. Of course, if the Kinsey team wants to get back out on track, they have till 12:50 today to get that going.
Yeah, it's not long here in qualifying. You can see we're already down to just under 16 minutes to go. We started with about 25 minutes total in this session. We'll have a little bit of a break, and we'll be heading off to the North America coverage as well. So that'll be fun to watch with a lot more cars out there in that one. Gawke outpacing Herback by about 3 seconds. But Greg, we have to remember, is new to professional racing. He's done a lot of track days, but the last round was his first 2 professional races back at Utah.
Yeah, and he ran quite well at Utah, bagged a pair of seconds with that performance. So now he's got a third competitor in Gawke and Kinsey racing together. So hopefully we'll get Kinsey back on track sooner rather than later. As cars are coming down into pit road, make some adjustments to make another chance at going down to the end of the session. And Joe, you got to stop and think, too, that with these drivers having these left rear woes, how many drivers, because you can only change one tire, how many drivers are going to be changing those left rear tires here to go into today's race?
I'm not sure, but I do know that the team's probably going to want to look at that, because it's one thing doing a few laps here in qualifying, but the races are 35 minutes plus 1 lap, so they're a fair bit longer, and they're not, the endurance level that we're going to be seeing later this weekend, but that's enough that could become a serious problem with that tire if they keep letting it blow smoke on the track the way through those right-hand turns. One thing that I'm watching for is Jim Walsh, because at times another Masters driver who has been very, very quick on a good day, but seems to be struggling a bit, at least overall. He's sitting in 5th. That said, he is 2nd in Masters behind Kevin Woods.
We're going to take a look also at Thomas Hacker going down the straightaway now as he comes off the hairpin. 13.3 is his best time. Right behind him is the 2.74 of Casey Dennis. We'll see if they can hook up in a draft here. In the next lap, I would imagine that a draft going down this straightaway would probably benefit both drivers at this stage instead of having one on the other.
It is a long stretch down that back straightaway, down into turn 12 here, which we expect to see a lot of passing, as the 264 looks like he's just a little bit off the apex there. Thomas Hacker struggling through the stadium section now. I always found this to be such an awkward sequence of corners, but it can make or break a lap.
It really can, especially, the corner coming into the carousel. You've got to set yourself up, brake, you're trail braking, and you got to make sure you're slowing down enough, because that left-hander just before the carousel is just absolutely mayhem.
Well, coming around through the tower is Rattlesnake Tower, as it is officially named, but locals have lovingly dubbed it the Mullet, which I personally love.
I love that.
Yeah, I think that's a great name for it. It certainly gives an impressive view. I haven't been able to get up to the top yet, but I did get a chance to at least go up part of it, as it looks like Hacker's going to be coming up into pit lane as across the line.
And that's Casey Dennis coming across the line. Ninth quickest so far. He's got an 11.202 last time by. He ran a he kind of cooled off his tires a little bit with the 26.9. So we'll see what he does on this flyer lap.
All right. Well, we'll also try and listen into race control here a bit in this session to see if we hear any word on track limits, as that's always a hot topic here at COTA. But it's important. You got to stay within the boundaries. And so far, it looks like James Lee has managed to do it. The best of anybody still with that 209.7 over Blake McDonald. Only two drivers sub 210 right now. Kind of surprised at Casey Dennis, because he's also been coming away with a number of second places this season, and sitting down ninth overall and fifth in category is a little bit shocking for him.
Well, race director John Maskey had their drivers meeting yesterday afternoon, so I would imagine that the frustration of testing and practice with these drivers kind of going off track limits might have gotten to John, and he said, guys, you got to stay within the lines. And I actually last night had a conversation with a GT3 driver, North America GT3 driver, who said, look, this is my first time here with a different series. I had to break some bad habits in testing because their policy on track limits was more stringent than this one is.
Exactly. Yeah, every series polices it differently, so you have to know the rules and you have to obey them. So come in aware and make sure you read the book as we watch them once again weave through this stadium section. This track often considered kind of a greatest hits compilation. This one is sort of paying homage to Germany's, to Hockenheim's stadium section.
Yeah, that's, I think, one of the coolest parts about this. Then you got the carousel going around the mullet, as we'll affectionately call it, getting ready to go on to the pit straight as well. No one really chasing their times. Actually, best lap set by Jim Walsh. He's fifth quickest, 2:10.876 last time by. He's really the only one who's set a fast time past this first flyer.
Again, I'm not surprised to see Jim go up to the pole on that Masters class, so a little bit quicker than Woods right now. He and Kevin have been kind of back and forth a lot this season in the four races that they've had. We started off in Nevada at Spring Mountain, 2 races there, and then we headed off to Utah Motorsports Park about 2 weeks ago, where we had 2 more of our events. Now we are joining up with the North America Series here in Texas. The farthest east this series has gone.
There's Laura Eli in the pits talking to her crew. As just about 9.5 minutes left in this qualifying session. It's still Blake McDonald, your fastest in Pro-Am Masters in 9.92. Fastest there is Jim Walsh. And your Cayman quickest. Well, we have one Cayman class this weekend, as it's going to be the Masters class. It's Michael Gawkey in the 99 with a 2:17.8.
I tell you what, the overall battle for, I guess, essentially third place is incredibly tight. French, Cortez, Walsh, Woods are all within, it looks like, roughly about a 1/10 of a second. It is tight in there. Any little improvement, and it's over 2 minutes a lap. That's
impressive.
Yeah.
And I think that if this plays out in the race, we're going to see 2 different types of podiums be affected here, and that's obviously it's the Pro-Am and the Masters, and that's what's going to make things interesting here as we see the 2:94 of Kevin Woods come down again. His fastest time of the 2:10.9. He's looking to improve. He only has to improve a tenth to get up to about third place right now, as that Porsche Austin sponsored 992 comes around into the stadium section. This is going to be an interesting lap here, Joe, because got 8 minutes left. What do your tires have left as Blake McDonald goes fastest his past time by with a 2:09.4?
Blake has responded now, and it's a good chunk. He's got about a quarter of a second over James Lee now. What can James do to try and strike back at him with less than 10 minutes to go? We continue to watch Kevin down through the last couple corners as we cut away from that. Definitely one of those spots where Kevin needs to make sure and stay within those white lines off of turn 19.
Down across the line. What time will he run? That's going to be...
That looks like an outlap, actually.
Okay, so that was an outlap. All right, so now the flyer begins. I looked over, I saw 410. I go, where did he go off?
Yeah, that was definitely not a hot lap here for him, but I'm sure this one he's going to be trying to set it up to see if he can improve and take that pole back away from the 992 Masters pole sitter of Jim Walsh. And like I said, it is close between them currently with only 75 thousandths of a second between the 269 and the 294.
And that's easy to make up, as we said. And you and I, we actually got a chance to run a sim around here. I'll tell you what, that S's section is tough.
Absolutely is. Yeah, I got to watch a few of your laps before I had to take off, and I know in mine I was struggling and through there too. The car wants to get loose. Yeah. And I believe this is the car that we were driving in the sim.
It was, yeah. Yeah, it was. So, exactly. It's like, well, I mean, first of all, it's probably my best lap that I've had here because I don't have, an FFB wheel. I actually just have like a step down. So I was like, okay, this feels good. So I haven't told my wife. It's like, yeah, we're going to spend about $700 on a new wheel. I haven't told her that yet. But it's amazing how difficult it is. The stadium section's a lot easier than I thought it would be, to be honest with you. But you really got to be on point once you're through the S's as we're watching Kevin Woods come around the line and try to take a look at his sector times here.
I'm not seeing any green from him, so
no.
I don't know if this is going to be an improvement. Like we said, it's a long lap around here, so yes, it says about 6 minutes left, but you think about plus 2 minutes per lap. He's got essentially 2, maybe 3 tries left.
And right now there are about 4 cars on track, so we'll see how many decide to call it quits a little early, save their tires for this afternoon's race. Across the line, that's the 274. Whoa, Casey Dennis with a 210.5. What a throwdown from him. Let's see what Kevin Woods does. He answers with the provisional pole in the Masters class. 210.8.
Yeah, in fact, not only does he jump Walsh, but he jumps Cortez there into the top 5 overall. Kevin Woods had a fantastic lap that time by, so maybe we're just not getting the green mark on our sector times here because it didn't look that quick based on just the coloring that I was witnessing.
Well, across the line right now, that's the 233 of Reinhold Kron, and he does not best this time because he's on an outlap, so let's see. He sees his teammate logged a fast lap. Let's see what Kron can do here. He's third quickest in the Masters class.
One to watch out for. Laura Eli, currently 4th in Masters 992, which doesn't sound that impressive, but she races much better than she qualifies and consistently has charged up through the field in pretty much every single race.
Well, of course, also, you take a look at the time difference between her and Woods, and it's there. You've got 0.4 of a second. So 0.4 of a second here could mean a corner or two. So, that's no surprise here. I always jokingly say the longer races, qualifying's nice, but it really doesn't tell the whole story. I think here at COTA, that's what we're going to see as well in all 3 groups, where qualifying's great, but it's not going to tell the whole tale.
Absolutely. It looks like we've only got 2 cars out on track right now in these last few minutes, so I guess everybody... Oh, you're right. I missed that 233 back there. So
okay, I saw it too. I'm like, oh wait, no, we got 3. So yeah, so right now it looks like it is the 294 of Kevin Woods, a 274 of Casey Dennis, and a 233 of Reinhold Kron. 3:43 to go. 1, maybe 2 flyers left for these guys.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. So we'll see if they decide to stay out there because it seems a lot of them are satisfied with what they've done. And Blake McDonald still ahead of Lee. Casey Dennis in 3rd, as we mentioned. Luke French, he could use a good result this weekend for his points, but he sits in 4th. We'll see what it looks like when it comes to race time as they'll charge around the long triple apex right-hander to the final 2 turns.
And Kevin Woods has decided his 210.8 is going to be perfect. He's in the pits right now, as we see on our screen.
Yep, it's a long pit lane down this main straight here, and yeah, everybody's all parked up. You can see a bunch of them.
Oh, look at what Cron just threw down.
Wow, that came out of nowhere. He's not usually a driver that's vying for the pole position. 2:10.6 for Reinhold Kron, 2/10 quicker than Kevin Woods and Jim Walsh.
I think that's it. What a lap by Reinhold Kron. We take a look at the sector times. 27.9 out of Sector 1. A 49.9 out of Sector 2. That's where it looks like he made up a lot of his time. 52.7 out of Sector 3. So he's running about the same sector times as some of our fast guys, but look, that Sector 2 time is fantastic.
Wow, okay. Again, there is still time, but he's the only one on track. So as you said, that might just have told the tale right there. And
wow. That was a fantastic lap out of the 2:33 of Reinhold Kron. He had that look there that, okay, it's going to be a quick lap, but he just put 0.2 of a second on the nearest Masters competitor, as well as Luke French in the top 5. So your top 5 look like this. You have 3 Pro-Am drivers, a Masters driver, and a Pro-Am.
Well, remember, they have their first race later today, but it might look quite a bit different. We've got all this haze that is blocking out the sun. It is still hot and muggy out there. Naturally, it's muggy with all the moisture you can see in the air. But I mean, what is this track going to be like for these drivers if we get the sun out later today and it's pounding down?
And you know what? That's been the question all weekend long. You know, the forecast has said, oh, it's going to be sunny. It's going to be awful. It has been cloudy most of the time because of all the haze. Taking a look at the track temperature, and I'm going to try and do some conversion. So go ahead and let's run through the order real quick while I do these.
Absolutely. So with about 40-some seconds remaining, Blake McDonald provisionally is your pole sitter, with James Lee starting in second, both overall and in the Pro-Am 992s. Casey Dennis going to be starting third. Then you get to the first of your Masters category in the 992s. Reinhold Kron, fourth overall, but on pole for his class. Luke French, racing in the Pro-Am, will start in fifth overall. Then you've got Kevin Woods in second place in the 992s, starting sixth overall. Joel Cortez in P7. That's back in the Pro-Ams. Jim Walsh gets shuffled down to third in the end in the in the Masters category. Laura Eli fourth, but ninth overall. Then to Josh Conley. He'll be the last of our Pro-Ams. He'll be 10th overall. And Michael Zweiback will start in 11th. Thomas Hacker in 12th. That completes our 992s. You get down to the Caymans. Michael Gawke is on pole. Greg Herback second. Kinsey did not set a time.
And you know what? We'll actually tease us for those who are watching on TV and here at the racetrack. We'll give you our track temperatures for North America Cayman here in just a little bit. You can tell I'm in radio.
Okay.
But yeah, needless to say, it is a hot one. So that completes Porsche Sprint Challenge West qualifying, and they'll be back here at 12:50 for a 35-minute plus 1 lap affair. Coming up next, it's time for Porsche Sprint Challenge North America Cayman qualifying here on Flow Sports YouTube and at Circuit of the Americas.